everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Black Liberation Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renée Jordan, and today we're going to do a Q&A. And so I'm going to jump right on in. How can we process and implement heavy critical feedback from mentors and supervisors without feeling like our original ideas or voices are being erased? Make sure that whatever is the most important factor in your project is still intact. So the most important factor for me was that I would be able to go out and ask these people who identified with these groups about their experiences as it related to how they learned technology and how they demonstrated digital literacies. And everything else around that was flexible. So there's another piece to that, and we're going to take a look at that in the next question. Expanding how we define tech careers. When defining the focus of your study, you emphasize that you weren't just looking to promote computer scientists or instructional technologists, but rather everyday people who happen to work in tech-saturated industries. Why is it so critical for our communities to broaden how we define tech? And how does this help more women and girls see themselves as leaders in these spaces? Well, the reason it was important for me to talk to everyday people who just so happen to work in tech saturated industries, that was important to me because that's where I found myself. So I went to school for biology. I was an accounts payable, accounts receivable personnel. I moved on to teaching biology, and I found myself training my colleagues in technology. And so, although I was a teacher and we had IT professionals, the IT professionals were there to troubleshoot. They were there to ensure we had access. They were there to ensure that we could do the things that we needed to do, making sure that things worked. But they weren't the ones using the learning management systems. They weren't the ones using the technology in the classroom to teach. I found myself in a tech saturated industry called education. And because I had a hold and a grip on it, I was able to do well. I was able to collaborate. I was able to pull my students in on the learning process using technology. It wasn't always about me using it, but allowing them to have space and room to do so as well. And so it doesn't require going to school for tech to look up and realize tech is all around me. And in order to provide myself with greater opportunities, it would behoove me to make sure that I'm up on my tech skills, no matter where I worked. And once I moved out of the classroom, I was still heavy on the tech everywhere I went. And so it was important for me to learn how others went about learning technology and demonstrating their skills so that it didn't just look like, oh, this is just for people who are in computer science. Oh, this is just for people who are in information technology. Oh, this is just for those who are software engineers. Oh, this is just for those who are the instructional technologists who help teachers get onto the learning management systems and train them. It's not, technology is not just for the people who make it, and it's also not just for the people who train others on it. How to use technology is how you're going to do well in a society that is heavy on the technology. And so that's why it was important for me to understand how people learned it, specifically everyday people who just so happen to work in tech saturated industries, so that when I designed an after school program for students who may or may not be interested in going into the traditional routes of becoming a software engineer, computer scientist, and instructional technologist, I got to be able to help those who want to do more than 3, 4, 5. Of course, there's 100,000 ways now, but I wanted to be able to help those who may have other interests in order to get to where they want to go. For example, in the workshop that I held with the Bytes Plus AI Summit at Georgia State University for the Atlanta Science Festival, there was a young lady there who said, "Oh no, take out tech. I don't want that in a as a part of my prompt." And so I took that out. She was interested in health professions. But guess what we were using? We were using technology to do this query. We were using Janaya GPT. We were using AI to do this exploration. This was a workshop where students were engaging their AI literacies. Why was it important then? Even though she didn't want to go into tech, because it's a way of exploring, it's a way of gaining access, it's a way of being able to make plans, it's a way of orienting yourself so that when you are moving into your next chapter, your next position, your next program, that you can situate yourself based on your own interest and what it is that you plan and want to do. And then technology is there to assist you along your way. And so while she said she didn't want to, go into tech, that didn't erase the need or the opportunity that technology lent to her in order to explore what she wanted to do further. So it was very important for me to find out from people how they go about and do their thing because people like to learn and do things with tech in different ways, just as different as their fingerprints. That's how people can approach technology. Everybody has their own way of learning technology and demonstrating digital literacies. And I wanted to explore it as much as possible so that when I have a workshop, I can make adjustments so that it's better tailored to those who are part of my audience. And I was able to do so based on the feedback that I received from her in the moment. We were able to take out tech careers and just leave health professions. And we were able to go from there. And so that's important to know and to do. It allowed me to be flexible as opposed to rigid and one sided. So, with all that being said, thank you again for listening to another episode of the Black Liberation Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renee Jordan. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share, rate, and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. And until next time, take care. Bye bye.